Take George Gershwin, for instance, the most popular and famous composer America has ever produced. He was always visiting Paris, not necessarily to study, but because he liked it, because it attracted him like a magnet. And his music shows it. Even in the title of this piece of his we're about to play, An American in Paris. This title tells us that the music is supposed to represent an American's impressions of the French city, the taxi horns, the wine, the fun, the cafes, the homesickness, and all the rest of it. But the title also tells us a much more important thing, too. It tells us about an American composer named Gershwin under the musical influence of Paris. After all, Gershwin was a Brooklyn boy, as you know, brought up in pop song publishing houses and Broadway shows, and his musical language was jazz, basically. His tunes, rhythms, and forms were all rooted in popular music. And so it was those roots that grew into the hardy perennial plants that we know as the Rhapsody in Blue and the Concerto in F, the opera Porgy and Bess, and this American in Paris we're going to hear. All serious, big compositions, and all with their roots in jazz. But it was the Paris sunshine that helped those roots to grow. For instance, do you remember last time we talked about the whole tone scale, that strange impressionistic scale that Debussy used so well? It sounds like this. You remember that vague, unfinished sounding scale? Well, here it is in the middle of a piece full of blues and charlestons and swinging tunes, but it's here. Of course, you know that those peculiar noises in the back are supposed to be French taxi horns. But they're not just noises. They're notes of the whole tone scale, imagine. The only difference is that Debussy used those notes to paint dreamy sailboats and waves and mists, while Gershwin uses them for taxi cab horns. Or, again, do you remember that wonderful hard word bitonality that we also found in Debussy's music last time? If you do, then you know that it means composing in two different keys at the same time. You remember? Well, bitonality also turns up in Gershwin. For instance, he takes one of those swinging tunes of his that goes like this. And later on in the piece, he brings back that tune in a sort of misty, impressionistic disguise like this. Now that's genuine imported French impressionism. But how does he get that French sound? Well, first of all, he gets it by using our friend bitonality. You see, each of those chords you just heard is really two different chords at once in different keys. The higher instruments are playing one set of chords in one key, and the lower ones are playing a whole different set of chords in another key. And together they make the bitonal sound like this. You hear how misty that is? It's even a little woozy. I think that in this moment, Gershwin is trying to show his American visitor to Paris a bit tipsy with too much good French wine, and that explains why it's so misty and woozy. In fact, he adds to it the even mistier color of the celesta. And then the plucked strings. It's getting mistier and mistier. And behind it all, he adds the soft hiss of the cymbal like a ringing in your ears. And then he puts all those sounds together to make this lovely, unreal, tipsy, woozy, impressionistic sound that he learned on the road to Paris.